Today, oh, okay. Thank you for noting that. Thank you. We are joining you guys here for the VFX office hours, and we are super, super excited that you're here. I see all of the people are here. We have specialists coming in, and they're going to be answering your questions. So if you guys had any questions regarding VFX or the visual effects editor, leave them in the comments below, and we can answer them for you. We have a poll going. What is your favorite thing to create with VFX? And already 41 votes are in. Guys, this is crazy. The first one is fireworks. The second one is a school of fish. I was surprised to hear that like a group of fish is called a school of fish. I love the English language. I think it's so funky. The third one is flower petals. The fourth one is bubbles. So go cast your vote in if you haven't already. But I can tell you that one is beating out all the others majorly. It is winning by 57%. I'm not going to tell you guys which one is winning because I want to have a fair vote, but midway, I'll share how the progress is going, so definitely let me know. Thank you everyone for joining. Okay, the audio issue should be resolved, so let me know if it's working, but we'll go ahead and get started. I'll introduce you to you all of the wonderful participants for today. Yep, I think there's a little bit of lag. When you guys told me, I was already a couple seconds in, but I think you should be able to hear it now. Thank you everyone for letting me know in the comments. Okay, the first person that I want to introduce for today is Frank.
How's everyone doing? I'm excited to do some VFX. Yep, I'm Frank. I'm an interactive engineer here on the TikTok Effect House. Yeah, specialize in just building this up.
Okay, out of all of the things that you've worked on, what is your favorite VFX project? I know you've made so many awesome ones, and for those of you who were participating in the private beta, you might have heard that Frank was the one who made the flower petal project that a lot of people have been asking for. I heard Sasha in the comments right now saying she's here for the flowers. I think she's definitely a fan of your project. But personally, out of the all of the projects that you've created, what's your favorite? And can you like explain to us like what was your
Yeah,
inspiration behind that?
yeah. So the flower petals, I was really into. I especially like the interaction where you hold your palm up and it slows down time, gives you like the Matrix bullet time kind of feel. Um,
Yes.
Yeah.
That
But my favorite oh, sorry?
No, no, no. I was gonna say that that is definitely one of the coolest effects. I've seen a variation where someone even did a avatar stage. So it was water,
Ooh,
ground, air, and you could stop it, and that just looked like the coolest effect ever. It seemed like they were actually in the Avatar movies.
ooh, that sounds awesome. I haven't seen that one. I'll have to go check it out.
Mm-hmm. And also with me here today is Rustin. Hi, Rustin. Okay. Let me. So, yeah, so let's get on with today's program. So, let me know, everyone, how the stream is running. I see that it is pausing for some people. It might help if you refresh the page, so try that and let me know if it works. Okay, perfect. I see that it was resolved for Haley Kappas. Thank you, Do, for stepping in with a solution. But I'm really excited to show you some of the things that is possible with the VFX editor because I know that there are so many wonderful projects that were being created by our creators and our engineers. And personally, I didn't know what you can create or what's the extent that you can create with the wonderful VFX editor. So when I saw all of the examples, I was like, wow, I didn't know all of this was possible. So I would like to show it all to you.
Avisa, apaga las luces, dejamos oscura. Que mi gente prende los flashes y woke up in a
You can create. I know for sure that I was super inspired. I hope all of the seeing all these projects inspires you. Today, we are going to be diving into a couple of these projects, showing you how it's done. But I'll stop the video for a second and show you. These were the templates for our Ramadan challenge, and these were the game demo that I saw Frank did in the VFX beta. It's really cool if you see the third video here, how you are able to use the cursor and it sucks up everything in its way like a black hole. And this one, I really love the cat that's surrounded by a little cloud. And out of all of the projects, I think this is my favorite project of all. This body that transforms into a fireworks shape. So if you guys have any questions about the specific projects, definitely let us know. But we'll get started with our first question of the day. We got this question by our Instagram. And I think a lot of people would want to know how to create something like this. Question from the Instagram chat. I want to be able to use VFX Editor to shoot particles out and aim it at objects or interact in some way with an existing 3D object. Is that possible? I want to shoot like something like a circular spear. Frank, do you think you can help us answer this question?
Yeah, we can give it a shot. So let me start up Effect House. Okay, so we'll probably use physics for the actual collision, but we want to use VFX for the visuals probably.
Frank,
That'll
do
give
you
us.
think you can share your screen?
Okay, let me. This one.
Yeah, guys, but let me know what your favorite ones are. Four Duck here says, wow, three of my ones are there. Four Duck, that's really impressive. I want to see can you tell us out of the ones that we shared, which one was that you created? Ooh, Heather already has an amazing question. Can we use VFX to create a liquid simulation? That is a really interesting question. We can definitely cover that after this project. Okay, but I see that we have the screen share ready from Frank, so I'm going to transition over.
Cool. Yeah, so the way I plan on doing this is just setting up the 2 points for my VFX at the beginning and treating this mostly like just a visual. Uh, the collisions on the VFX are internal to the particle system. So for right now, most of the time, if you're doing collision detection, you want to still use our physics system, but you can use some of the VFX collisions for visual feedback. So we have 2 spheres here. Let's set this to make it 10. Okay. So we see our two spheres here. Sorry if it's a little small. So we'll make these the start and end point for our particles, or at least the start and target. So let's make some parameters here. So we'll do a vector 3, and we'll call this start. And we'll take another vector 3, we'll call this target. Okay. We will set the position. So set our start as our position. We won't need this random velocity. And then we'll do a set velocity. And we'll calculate that velocity by taking the start minus, or the target minus the start. So let's say subtract. This will give us our direction. We'll want to normalize it. And then let's add another parameter for speed. Speed. Like that. Multiply. Zoom in a little so you can see a little better. Multiply. Okay. So that'll give us our start and end and our velocity. Let's hook that up in the visual scripting. So we need to actually make sure these start and targets are linked to those spheres. Maybe we should call them by their name. So we get less confused. So we'll do start, set. And in the update, we'll just constantly be setting our position there. Before we do that, let's grab this as well. We don't need that. So we should be able to grab the position. Hopefully this works. Go. So when we compile, we should just see, yep, because our speed's still set to 0. And as we increase the speed, it'll move towards that other position. And then if we, I don't think we can live move it, but that gets us our movement towards our target. So you can establish your start position via like your hand, your face, or whatever. So we could attach it. Let's just do AR tracking head tracker and then put it on top and hide this occluder. Oh, wrong one. Huh, weird. I think it's getting just the original position. So maybe we do get transform. World transform info like that. Then get transform. So now it's always moving towards that center point. It just spawns. So that's a lot higher. So you can do a raycast via visual scripting to tell whether you hit that object. But when you want to see like a collision event in VFX, you'll want to use it in the VFX graph. So if we say collide with sphere, that's probably pretty small. Let's start with 2 and go like that. Ding, ding. Oh, it's not attached. We need our target position. So we'll grab that again. There we go. That's still not attached at the right spot. Oh, there it goes. So it bounces off that target position. And you can kind of fiddle with this radius until it seems kind of right. So that'll give you your launching and your impact. And then if you wanted to score or do damage or anything, that would be handled in here via a separate collision detection. So something like raycast. So you can do this and use those same positions. So origin, and then the direction should be target, subtract this. And then we'll just do, trying to think what's the easiest way to show it collided. Maybe just make a quick variable. So you can see it counting up every time every frame. So you'd have to play with how you link these two a little bit. But yeah, that's generally how I would do something like this. The other thing, you can wait till you collide with this raycast and then spawn or move a VFX to that point. So a lot of people have done that in their game effects where when they hit a checkpoint or they crash into something, they'll spawn particles. That's another way to give a good feedback in games.
Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Cool. Good. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Rustin. I'm another engineer here at TikTok. I've been working on building out the VFX Graph features and building a lot of demos internally to sort of show off what we can do with VFX Graph, and then also see like where we can make improvements. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to do like liquid and fluid simulation. I can go ahead and share my screen real quick, and I can talk about where we're at right now in Effect House, what you can do, and what we want to do going forward a little bit. So I should be sharing my screen now. Cool. And cool. Yeah, so right now I've just gone ahead and put in another default VFX graph, some basic particles. I can talk about what you might be able to do right now to get something kind of approaching a fluid simulation. I'll say that at the moment, we don't have the kind of realistic fluid simulation that I think you might expect to see if you're doing like a fluid simulation in Blender or some other like more advanced tool like Cinema 4D or Houdini or something. But we can approximate it a little bit. I could use this as an example of just showing the sheer number of particles that we can do with VFX Graph. I think you might be able to get something pretty interesting. So I've created a new VFX graph here. By default, it has a capacity of 2,000 particles. I'm going to crank that up to about 10,000. And then I'm going to make the spawn rate quite a bit faster. So right now we only have a couple particles per second. Let's see what it would look like if we had like quite a few more. I want to make them smaller as well. So they start with a size of 111. Maybe we'll try a 1/10 for each. We can go ahead and we'll spawn even more. We'll try like 200 per second. And then we can give these particles some gravity. I'm going to go down here into the update block, add some gravity, see how that looks. Maybe a little bit less random velocity. 333. And then we can also change the color of the particles. So this is XYZ, red, green, blue. So if we change it to maybe something like turn down the red and the green color, but leave the blue up, we'll get some nice blue particles. Yeah, let's see. I want to try a few other things here. Maybe I can bring in my camera, and we'll see if I can add an AR tracking hand tracker here. And just to visualize what I'm going to try and do, we'll see if I can stick a 3D object to my hand. Okay, cool. So what I want to try here is change the simulation space from local space to world space here. Actually, I'm going to leave it local space for init so that whenever I set the position to 0, 0, 0, it should spawn right on my hand. Let's try parenting this to my hand and see how that looks. Yeah. Yeah, so if I continue to turn up the number of particles we're looking at, we can get something kind of approaching a fluid. And I think if we threw in a collision, we could sell this a little bit better as well. So let's add a collide with sphere. Maybe we'll just leave it at 0, 0, 0. My hand further and backward. Let's try a collide with plane, actually. And we'll just have that be. Yeah. If we bring it down some more. So at the moment, yeah, we don't have the infrastructure for doing things like having particles interact with other particles. In a proper fluid simulation, what you would see is things like surface tension. So like nearby particles would stick together the way that like water droplets stick together. We would like to talk more about some of these features in the future, but at the moment, I think your best bet would be try and yeah, throw in a ton of particles. I think that'll be your best bet for getting something that feels like a lot of droplets of liquid. Yeah, really see how far you can push the maximum number of particles on your phone while still getting a good amount of performance. Would be my suggestion for trying to get something watery or liquidy in the current version of the tool.
Yeah, and I think another thing that you mentioned was how you can use something like a water texture to create an effect of water, right?
Yeah, totally. So Do mentioned that in another demo that you saw earlier, we have the cat with a ring of smoke textures around its neck, right? So as Do mentioned, we use the flipbook node for that. So you would go down here into the output, you would add a flipbook blend node, and then we would change the main texture to, instead of just being a single particle, it would be a sheet of animated frames that would then get animated for each particle. So if you have a flipbook animation of water splashing in different directions, you could hook that up into the flipbook blend node and get something similar where every particle is looking like a little splash of water.
I'm seeing amazing comments coming in. I'm seeing that Joseph said that's fun. Reminds me of sparks coming off of a welder and then hitting the ground. I think this could totally be a potential effect where you have two broken pipes and then you have to use touch or something to weld the particles. That is such an amazing effect idea, Joseph.
Yeah, I love that.
We have follow-up questions. Addie is asking, can the particle bounce off of a physics collider? And Muru has been really helpful, answering, saying, yes, we have some physical collider blocks. Okay, on to the next question. Maybe I'll go to Frank for this question. The third question is saying, "Ooh, I saw the AIGC video that you just released, the AI art maker video. So if you guys haven't already, definitely go to check out that video. But for who it says like you can combine something like a VFX transition to the AI generated art. But I'm really interested in how you can create something like the particle transition. I saw that it was super cool, and I want to maybe be able to use that screen transition in to transition to something else. So I want to know how to make that. So let's go to Frank. Perfect.
Okay, and you can hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I've already done a little of this. I've been exploring this a good bit on my own. So I'll kind of show. So this is taking the ArtMaker slide ArtMaker slide template that you'll find on the homepage, and just adding in VFX. So the process is, see if it does it right. Instead of doing the X swipe, it'll use VFX to do this kind of particle dissolve. Oh, that's a cool one. I like this one. I look like one of the characters from Cowboy Bebop. So I'll show you that process of kind of getting this effect. In general, it's creating a render texture using VFX to apply in the material as a transition. So let's go back to the home page. Let's start from that ArtMaker slide. Okay, so this is what ArtMaker slide normally looks like. Same kind of deal. Cool. So it does this little X transition, but that's no fun. So let's use some VFX to modify it. Let's start with trying to figure out how we want to do the VFX transition. So when you're thinking about the transition, the white particles will be where you see the new image, and anything that isn't white particles will be where you see the old image. So over time, I will probably want to scale up these particles so that they cover the whole screen. So let's get time, and let's multiply by some value, and then we'll do back 3. That, and then set size. That. So over time, the particles are gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually, hopefully pretty quickly, yeah, they're mostly starting to take up the whole screen. In another couple of seconds, they'll probably take up the whole screen. We can help this out by doing different positions. So the last one I did a position at the top and then a velocity down. But let's try something different. We never know what will work. Let's do this position torus. So it's gonna look something like that. Let's increase our rate. And I don't want to wait here each time. So for right now, let's set this pretty high. Let's do that. So whatever we see in white would be how we transition. So it kind of pops in all around and then slowly takes over. Seems pretty good. Sometimes also you'll want to set the size here as well. So it's constantly getting bigger, not just when it comes in. Does that help any? I kind of like it the other way better. So we'll do that. Okay, so these VFX are essentially going to be our mask. So let's send that to a render texture instead. So we'll come to texture, render texture. Okay. And if you pass in the camera texture, it will sometimes lead to a little bit of weird transition because you'll still have that information there. We can try none, but normally I use like a plain black texture. We'll try none for now, and if we see an issue later, we'll find a plain black texture. Okay, render texture like that. So now at the beginning of time, it's gonna start counting up and getting bigger, but we don't want it to happen at the beginning of time. We want that to be a variable. So just a second, leave this like that. So we'll take a new parameter and we'll pass in our own time. So time. Okay. Time's probably not exactly the right name, but it'll work for now. And we'll compile. So now we need to set this time in the scripting graph. So there's already a lot of nodes here. I just kind of dug a little into what the template team had done and added my own workarounds to get VFX to work. So we want to set that time variable, that's for sure. So we need to set so this is the time counter. I'll use a custom material. This is saying when the image is generated. So that seems about when we care. So we can do is image generated. Let's get an update node. Let's get an if node. That. Okay. So as long as the image is not generated, we're going to set time to 0. So then our size will be 0. And then whenever we start generating, let's start counting up our time. Let's make a new variable here. We'll do VFX time. That. Get variable. And then we'll need a set variable as well. So we're just going to count up the VFX time by adding delta time to it. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mess. There we go. It's a little bit more readable. And then we'll do another set like that. Okay. So this will stay 0 until the image is generated, and then it'll start counting up. So let's go ahead and try that out. So we should see the particles. Please. Oh. Why don't we see the particle? Maybe our render order. Let's cheat this a little and make sure we can see it at the beginning. Okay. So we see them at the beginning. They're size 1. When we click, it'll go through and generate. And then they should get bigger. Can we tell? Yep, they're getting bigger. Okay, so our timer is working. That's good.
This is really cool. You know what this also reminds me of? Like when you blow in dandelions, I feel like this could be an amazing transition where if you make the pout facial gesture, like it grows and grows, and then all of these are dandelion pieces, and then you transform. I bet a lot of like fashion YouTubers who make like amazing fashion videos on TikTok would love to use something like that to announce the new spring lookbook.
Yeah, that could be cool. So I've gone back to setting this to a render texture. Now I want to do our transition in the material graph. So the material graph right now is using the screen slider mat, and it's taking the generated image and just sliding it across the screen. So I'm just going to basically replace all of this. We'll keep this texture, cut this. Whoops. So then we'll do a sample, texture 2B, chord, like that. And then we have our render texture. So we'll do another sample. And we'll use our render texture. Like that. And screen chord. And then let's try doing a append. I might have to multiply the alpha by the RGB. So basically, yeah, black screen. So we're basically taking the art image that's generated and using the render texture to apply the alpha here. So that's why we're seeing a black screen. I don't remember how I got around that. I thought it. Let's just see if it So it works once we click. So it just instantly appeared. So our channel is just completely white at the beginning, or something's going on. So let's make sure we add a black texture. So there we go. There's just a random black texture. Let's see if this helps out. If we recompile, oh, so they're all. That's interesting.
I'm going to have to pop in and say this looks very
so
dark and mysterious.
We left this ad in here, so you set this to 0.
Oh, I just wanted to pop in and say that this looks dark and mysterious, and that this could be a happy to evil transition. So the first one is like you look really pure with a dandelion, and the second one you're turning into an evil queen, and I feel like those transitions would absolutely rock.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Get your Disney villain on. So we got those coming in, and that kind of did that transition we were looking for. Now it'd all be up to like optimizing how your VFX appear so that it gets the right look that you're looking for. So that felt pretty random to me. Let's watch it again. So maybe there's different ways you can set up your VFX to make it a little less random. Giving it directionality is always helpful. So instead of doing random velocity, doing like a generalized velocity. So is that
While Frank is working on that, I just wanted to say that the next question would be Haley Catpaw's fire question. So keep an eye on that. We're going to show how we can use the fire VFX template and place it around a segmentation. For example, like surrounding parts of the hands are on fire, but the actual hand is fully visible. So keep joining.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's about it for this. You just will keep playing with the VFX to get different effects. And then you can tie other systems in to make the point of start like more interesting. So we could add another VFX graph with another torus, like make a glowing ring or something. But yeah, that's about it.
Perfect.
Maybe you can jump up here.
Thank you, Frank, for that amazing demo. This is why I love being on Office Hours Live with you guys, because we get so many amazing ideas, like the welding one, or this fire one, or this transition one, and we can pop off ideas about how it can be a dandelion or evil queen transition. Thank you all for being here with us today, and transitioning to Rustin. Whoa, what do you have there, Rustin? That's just super cool.
Yo, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, let me click back over here. Yeah, so I messed with the little water demo we were working on for a moment there, and you can see now I flipped the gravity. I've messed with the colors a little bit and the particles, and now we've turned that from a water effect to a fire effect. So same setup as before for the most part. I'm spawning the particles at 0, 0, 0. So I have set position 0, 0, 0. This init block is set to local space. And then the update block is set to world space. So that's so that I can move my hand around and the particles aren't like stuck to my hand or anything. So if I were to change this from world space to local space, as it is by default, it would look more like this, where the fire is just stuck hard to my hand. But I'm going to go ahead and change it back to world space. And yeah, here we are. Like I said, I think one thing I've been seeing a lot from people that are going out and making effects with VFX Graph is they don't really realize the number of particles that you can use. So right here, I've set my capacity to 50,000 and my spawn rate to 15,000. Definitely test this on your phone to actually make sure that it runs okay. But in general, I would say like, don't be afraid to try using a huge number of particles. It can really help sell like a really interesting visual effect like this. So to transition into what the question actually was, I believe we had somebody asking like, this looks cool and all, but what if I wanted my hand to render in front of this fire? I've got this fire in my palm, but it's kind of noisy. It's kind of covering up my hand. I still want my hand to be visible. So as you guys know, if I go over here in the top left and I click Add Object, we have this, I'm going to keep my hand in frame here as much as possible. We have this segmentation section. And what I can do here is just add a portrait segmentation. And then you'll see we're going to have a new camera here. We have a new render node. This isn't quite what we want yet, but you can see up here in the top, we have two components that have been added, two screen images up here. We have the portrait, which is me, and then we have the background, which is this sort of like abstract, like ambient color gradient. If I turn off this background, we'll no longer see the background, but now we're just back to where we started, right? There's one more thing we have to do. We want to take this segmentation effect node and we want to drag it down below the one that has our VFX graph in it. And there we go. So what we now have is we're drawing just me, just the portrait. If I turn the background back on, it'll look like this. We can't see our VFX at all. But if I uncheck the background, then now we have our VFX is drawing just as before, but I'm getting rendered on top of everything. So it'll be like my head as well is also going to cover up any of these particles. But there we go. That's how you would do it. Super simple. Just one more time, because I know it's a very like blink and you miss it. Add object, segmentation, portrait segmentation, drag down below general, and then just get rid of the background. And there you go.
This is a super cool effect, and especially if we combine it with something like a material editor that allows you to set yourself on fire, like convert your segmentation, you could create such an amazing effect where like the fire starts from the tip of your feet, but then it rolls up, and then at your fingertips you have a fire blasting from your hand. So I think this could be used in so many fun ways. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, I think we're going to go to Frank. Similarly to this one, we had a question where like, oh, imagine that you are Dragon Ball and you are collecting all of this energy in your hand. You're waiting until it grows bigger, and then you just suddenly release it. Frank, how do we create something like that?
Yeah.
Don't
So that
worry,
sounds like-
Addie. The next question is yours about the ocean and the water and the material editor. So hang on there.
Cool. Yeah, so I haven't made a Dragon Ball effect, a Kamehameha effect, or anything like that yet. But generally, it starts with like a pull in and then a release. So we kind of want to mimic that same thing in our VFX. So let's start by making the pull in. So first we're going to set position. Let's do a sphere. We don't want this random velocity. So we want it all to come in towards the center point. So set velocity. So we'll take this, the initial point of that we spawn, get position. like that. And we'll subtract. You don't really need to subtract because we're going to 0, 0, 0, but maybe in the future you would have it not be in the direct center. We'll normalize this, so it just gives us a direction, and then we'll multiply and we'll set it. Let's give this a parameter, so pull in speed, like that. Okay, and we compile. So they're just going to spawn all around, but they're not coming in yet. And then we do 10. Oh, we're going the wrong way. So that doesn't make much sense. We can fix that in one of two ways. We can set this to negative. It's normally what I would do because that's the quick way. So that's kind of pulling in. If we want them to stop in the center, we can play around with the speed to get that to happen, or we can do a destroy sphere. So we put a destroy sphere in the center, we'll make it really small, like that. And then as they hit the center, they pop out. Okay, so that's working pretty well. Let's make our radius a lot larger. Let's increase our number of particles by a lot. Should be, we'll go up to 5,000 just in case. 10,000. Usually when I'm making these, I start with a lot of capacity and then I tune it down over time. So we're getting that pull in, looks pretty good, but the particles are way too big. Set size, set the size. Let's go with something like 0.2, 2, 2. There we go. So I kind of want them to get bigger as I go to the center so that it kind of forms like a sphere or something. So instead of making it a static size, we'll start the size with 0. And then over time, we'll increase the size.
Sorry, Frank. Don't want to stop you, but this to me also reminds me of like a galaxy zooming, like we're warping through the galaxy. It would be so cool if someone made like a starship effect where you have to like go and avoid the smashing into planets, like an astronaut kind of game, and use this as a background to do stars, because I feel like we're just jumping through at warp speed.
Yeah, if you just add in a couple of different colors for like random planets too, it would look great.
Wow, that's crazy. And say earlier you taught something like collision. So if maybe we can do something where the number of planets just increases and increases, and then you can feel the speed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to connect the age over lifetime to the set size, so they'll get bigger as they come in towards the center. So we're kind of getting that. It's a little too big at the middle point and too small at the end point, but we'll just modify it and get going on the next portion. Okay, so that's kind of our charge up. Maybe we would add another system to like signify the actual center is getting stronger with like a solid particle or an object in your space. The next part of it would be the release. So the release, we have to stop the inflow and then just make another particle effect for launching it out. So let's kind of hide this for now. Maybe we'll do it with 2 VFX graphs so we can jump back and forth. So we can hide this. And this is our second one. That will be our launch out. And I would treat this kind of like that first demo we showed, where you're just setting a start position and a target. So we just, maybe we start at 0, 0, 0, and we set the velocity to be just positive on the Z. So let's do 10. So we're going to get coming straight out the camera. That's maybe not what we want. You can do 10 like that. It'll give us like a 45 degree.
Oh my gosh.
We don't have enough
That
particles.
was
so
that
let's
was
go up
crazy.
100. And we'll just jump this up to 10,000 to begin with. We can always make it smaller. So that's kind of a beam-like thing. It Yeah. For a ghost and trail, you would probably start with like a portrait segmentation or whatever you want to call the ghost and trailing. So if we do maybe not. We could jump over to doing something like that. In general, though, this is like the start of the beam. It doesn't look very good for sure. It's going to come down to playing with layers of alpha and like textures. Let's try switching to probably. So we're getting some of that. Let's stretch it on the X. Let's do 5 and 0.1. So we got something way sharper there. We can do 0.4. Left. So that kind of gives us our beam out. So we have our pull in, and then definitely doesn't look as good as it needs to. The next step I would probably start doing is looking at the visual scripting to tie these together in time. So 3 seconds of pull in and then 3 seconds of pull out, of launch out. And then after that, I would start looking into more reference, like how does a Kamehameha actually look? Because just making solid white particles won't get you that same look and feel. Each anime character has their own feel, whether you're doing a Naruto or whatever. But that's about the start. I don't know if we want to keep diving into it, or move on to
Yeah.
the next?
I this might be this is something that just popped into my head. Usually when people are throwing these energy balls, it's dependent on the size of it really fluctuates between their two hands. Is it possible to make like this energy ball like bigger and smaller by tracking the two hands?
I think so. Do we have two-handed tracking? That's the one thing I'm worried about.
I think we
Um,
have hand tracker where you can do hand 0 and hand 1, and maybe we can like calculate the distance between them. Or I know this is a lot to ask on a live, so perhaps I shall jump to Rustin, who's going to explain to us Addie's question. Addie was very curious. Wait, let me transition to Rustin's screen. He already has something on screen. I love it. But Addie is wants to make something like a water shader. Going back to Haley's question, I think a lot of people want to do an awesome water effect. Addie asked earlier that he created some kind of wave looking thing, but and he's wondering how you can recalculate normals after some vertex displacement. I created a water shader, and somehow the recalculated normal is getting flatter and flatter over time. I use the time node to animate the wave, and it is only correct for the first couple seconds. The wave function I use is a Gershner wave function, 3 of them on top of each other with a different frequency. So this is not a VFX question, but this is a material editor question, and that's perfect because you have the master shader, which is Rustin, so he's going to go on to answer this question. Okay, on to you.
Yeah, so I took a look to see if I could throw together a live demo that will demonstrate how you recalculate the normals of a mesh after you deform the vertices, displace the vertices in some way. I wasn't able to get that working in the past couple minutes, so we're going to be looking at a bit of a broken example, but I'm just going to explain the math behind it, and then hopefully you'll be able to carry that into your own project and fix the normals yourself. So just a little bit of background information for anybody that may not know exactly what we're talking about. What I have here is a basic sphere, and I also have some nodes that are plugged in my custom material graph to the world position node. So if I disconnect these from the world position node, you'll see the sphere as it looks normally, just a regular sphere. I'm going to change these numbers back real quick, but basically for the purpose of demonstration, I was just squishing the sphere to half scale on the X and Z axis, and then stretching it on the Y axis. And you can see that the lighting is not correct after we've squashed the sphere. It's the same lighting as before, it's just stretched. That's not how light works in the real world. And the reason that this is happening is because our normals have not been adjusted to account for the fact that the position of the vertices has now been changed. So the normal is the direction. If you imagine a bunch of arrows stuck to the surface of this sphere, then can we see my cursor? I think so. On the top here, the arrow would be pointing this way. Over here, the arrow is pointing this way. Down here, the arrow would be pointing this way. Those are the normal vectors for every point on the surface of this sphere. So the question is, how do we recalculate the normals such that the lighting actually looks right after we've changed this world position right here? So as I said, I unfortunately wasn't able to get my little demo here working, but I can talk about the actual math and how I do this whenever I run into this problem. This is going to be a little bit over some people's heads if you're not familiar with the underlying math. So I think I'm going to try and go through it a little bit quickly, and then hopefully the question asker can go back and kind of review this, and hopefully this helps with the problem. But so you mentioned a Gershner wave displacement function. So that would be for every vertex, we are calculating a new position on the surface of a cresting wave. So like the ocean surface is going to look like that. We've got a bunch of waves with crests and troughs. And then the Gershner wave function is going to move our vertex so that it looks like the surface of the ocean as the waves are sort of ebbing and flowing. So in my case, I've replaced that Gerstner wave function, which is a lot of math, a lot of trigonometry, with an extremely simple displacement function, which, as I said, we're just squishing the x and z and stretching the y. But whenever you go to solve this problem in your ocean shader, just replace what we're looking at right here, these multiply nodes. This is where you would plug in the subgraph for your Gerstner wave displacement function. So you would have a subgraph right here that takes in a position attribute, and it also would take in the time, because as the question asker said, their displacement function also depends on time. So they would take in position attribute and they would take in time into their displacement function. This would be a subgraph that does a bunch of math, and then it's going to output the world position right here. So you'll see that I've duplicated these, and I actually have 3 of them now. So this multiply node is the exact same as this one, but in our question asker's case, you would have 3 copies of your Gerstner wave displacement subgraph. And what I've done here is I'm using what's called the forward differences method to estimate the new normal after the displacement happens. And the way you do that is you want to take your tangent attribute and your normal attribute and cross them to get the bitangent. So if this is my normal vector and this is my tangent vector, which is perpendicular, I can cross those and then get my, let's see if I can do my 3-axis hand thing, get my third perpendicular bitangent vector. So tangent is perpendicular to normal, and bitangent is also perpendicular to normal and to tangent both. I'm going to multiply them by a very small value. It's kind of arbitrary. This is called epsilon. It's 0.01 in my case, just a very small value. You're going to multiply your tangent and your bitangent by that very small epsilon value, and then you're going to offset the position attribute by the tangent and by the bitangent. And then after you've offset your position, you're going to run both of those through the same displacement function. Then you're going to subtract the displaced position from the original position, which are going to give you an estimate of how your surface has changed in both of these directions. If you then subtract that result from your original position, normalize them, take the cross product again, that will give you the new world normal vector, or at least it should. I wasn't able to fully get it working, so the demo doesn't look correct here. But that's the gist of it. Again, I'm going to say look into the forward differences method, run your displacement function 2 additional times after offsetting on the tangent and the bitangent, and then you will be able to recalculate your normals that way. Sorry I wasn't able to get the demo going, but if you're not able to get that working, please make a post on the forums. I have actually implemented this exact same thing before for Gerstner waves in Material Graph. So if we can't get it figured out here, I will totally help you get this figured out on the forums.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to read out this funny post from our Instagram earlier when we asked a question about VFX. They said, I want to do wine bending, not water bending. Laughing emoji. Is that possible? Hashtag the last airbender vibes. I think my tribe is wine. This was hilarious. Thank you, Alexander Burrell Official, for this funny response. But I think this will be the end of today. I'm just gonna check in with Frank on his progress. I know it was a last-minute request for me, but Frank, how are we doing on the energy ball?
So I was trying to do something like you said with connecting the hands to it all. So I don't think our hand tracker lets us differentiate between left and right hand, but Avatar 3D does. So if you use your body avatar drive, you can get the left and right hand locations. This is a little bit hard to demo. I don't know if I can. Okay. So as my hands get closer together, the particles start at a smaller size. As I pull them apart, they get larger. So you definitely need to play with that kind of. And then you can also like take the average of their 2 positions to set the position of your energy ball. But that might be another way to impact your I'm lost. To impact your energy blast attack.
Wow, this is absolutely amazing. This is incredible. And I bet we can combine it with like specific gestures to make it release it or disperse it. So I think Lou, using everything that we learned today, you can create some mega epic effects that will turn you into a superhero or a supervillain. But can you explain, can you show us a little bit of the subgraph and how you achieve this effect?
Yeah. So on the VFX side, it's very simple. It's just starting the original center position, and then oh wait, this is on VFX. Sorry, I was wondering why. So I start in the original center. I set a random velocity, and then I'm passing in the scale as a parameter. Over time, I'm making the scale smaller, just so that it kind of fades out a little on the edges. So that scale I'm passing in is set from the visual scripting graph. So I take the left hand and the right hand of the visual scripting graph, grab their world positions, do a distance check, and then send that to the VFX graph.
Okay, that's phenomenal. Thank you. Could you save this file so we could share it with all of our wonderful live viewers?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. I'm seeing the funny post by Steven. It's so amazing. The two-hand emoji with a little star in between. Steven, that's a perfect way to encapsulate this project. Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful comment. That made my day. We are also hearing that we also need a separate session for material editor, that they want to learn how to make a glass shader. So definitely keep an eye up for that. We'll bring it to you. Don't worry, don't worry. It was super nice to be able to hang out with all of you and to feature our wonderful engineers, Frank and Rustin. So we are going to conclude it today. Thank you so much for everyone, and thank you Du and Muru for being the wonderful commenters, answering the questions in the comments. I also see that you answered a question from Addie about how to do a trailing effect. So definitely keep an eye on the chat if you haven't already. There's so much more knowledge to learn from the comments, but I think that is it for me today. Do you want to say your final goodbyes, Frank?
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. Look forward to doing more of these.
Yeah, likewise. Had a great time. I'll see you at the next one.
Okay. Guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you again very soon. Bye, guys.